Okay, so I will show a demo of Spring Technique application with GitHub Action and ArgoCD workflow. This workflow is deploying uh, um, creating a GitHub repository and application, the Spring Technique application, leveraging the scaffolder of RHDH. And to this application, we'll use a PostgreSQL instance. The PostgreSQL instance will be deployed using Ansible, and the application will be deployed using ArgoCD. And all of that will be done by the workflow. Um, so let's click on the workflow entry. So we have two tabs: workflow details and workflow runs. Workflow runs lists all the previous run of the workflow. If I click on one, we'll be able to get all the information about this run, all the inputs and so on, all this progress, if it fails or anything, the duration. We can run again and update the input, but we'll see for the execution later. So let's click on it. For this, let's get back there. So workflow definition, workflow detail. So here we can see we have the workflow definition, so the YAML file that was created and the associated um, diagram, visual diagram. So we, as I mentioned before, we will be leveraging scaffolder from RHDH. So we need to have a template for that. I imported it beforehand. So this is a template. If you click on view source, you will be able to will be redirected to this and to see the skeleton and the template of the template. I also have to configure Ansible to import this playbook, which will be just creating a PostgreSQL instance in my cluster and also the credential to be able to access the cluster to which Ansible will deploy the PostgreSQL. Okay, so let's dive a bit into the workflow. So the first state of the workflow is launching the software template. So it will execute the template, so it will create the GitHub repositories, and the workflow will monitor those tasks here, monitor the state of this execution. If the execution is failed, well, we end the workflow because there is nothing else we can do, and we send a notification. If it succeeds, we continue. So the application and the PostgreSQL will be deployed in a given namespace. So the workflow makes sure the namespace exists. If it doesn't exist, it creates it. And in any way, well, we are sending notification in case it exists or not, just to make sure the user is aware of what's happening in the workflow. And then we patch namespace to set specific labels to allow ArgoCD to manage the resources on this namespace. Then we launch the AAP job, so the Ansible job, and we monitor it similarly to what we've done before, ending if it fails, and continuing if it succeeded. Then we will monitor the GitHub actions, because when we create the repository, GitHub actions are configured to build and push the image of the application on Quay. So we get it, we monitor it. Similarly, with a notification in case of failure and success, and if it succeeded, we create the ArgoCD application, and we send a notification, and we end the workflow. So the ArgoCD will take care of deploying the application on the cluster. Also, what is worth mentioning is this, the notification plugin, on which we will have some notifications that will keep us up to date with all the state of the workflow, what's happening on the workflow, success execution, failure execution, what's happening. It will give nice feedback. So let's run the workflow. I'm using my test workflow organization, and I leave everything as default. Same here for the JSON, so for Java metadata, all this information comes from the template. Template needs it. Then Quarkus, I will deploy it on my, not Quarkus, Quay. I will deploy it on my Quay. And then I'm selecting this job template with some values, and then my user. So I will be the one receiving the notification. If I set another user, the other user will receive our group. It will be the target. Note that we have a plugin that may dynamically fill the drop-down values here and even here if we need to. You need to configure some REST API call, and it will fetch the data from this REST endpoint and populate it here, and you will be able to select it. Next, so we can review what we set, see if it's right or not, and if everything is right, we can run it. So we will be directed to the same page we saw earlier, but this time it's not completed, it's running. So you see the status here, and the status here, and some information will be displayed, all the inputs, and the current state, what is currently being executed. Let's wait a little bit. So it's monitoring software, the software template creation on GitHub. Okay, we have notification here. Let's take a look at those notifications. So what is it? Okay, so first, sending me software template creation. If I click on it, let's get back to the workflow here. If I click on this notification, it will move me to the catalog components, matching the Spring Pet Clinic. If you click on it, you'll even be able to get to the GitHub repository. Here, this is the CI I was mentioning before, which is building and pushing the image on Quay. Okay, I received another notification. Let's see. Well, it's loading. So here also in the workflow, you have a link which will open the same components I mentioned before. Yeah, same thing. Notification. So here, namespace created, Sprint Technique Dev, and also the Ansible job is completed. If I click on it, it will open Ansible, and I will have the output. So in case of failure, you will directly have all the information. In case of success, you also have that. If I'm getting the namespaces, I do have this Spring Clinic. If I show the YAML, I see we have this label that I mentioned earlier. And now if I get the pods running on it, we have the PostgreSQL pod. Right. So now what is the workflow doing? Let's mark the notification as read. Let's get to the bottom of it. Okay, it's waiting for the GitHub action to be completed. Let's mark everything as read so we don't have. Okay, let's refresh the GitHub page. I think it's okay, still building the image. Should be there soon enough. Speed up everything now, so just so you don't have to wait for 3 minutes. So here we are logging into Quay, pushing to Quay, everything being done. Still monitoring. Okay, now it's done. It's completed, and soon enough we'll see the workflow. Okay, see we have notifications saying everything succeeded, the GitHub, and we have notification of what's happening. So if I click on this notification, we'll see to the CI, which is green, and that's it. Now if I take a look at the ArgoCD, we see it's there, deployed everything. I'm going to take a look at the console, Spring Pet Dev Clinic. We see this Pet Clinic is ready, so let's go to the root, and that is deployed. I can do whatever I need to do with it. And that's it for the demo. Thanks.